Regular meeting number 9 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember Remy, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, council is appreciative to have Pastor Julianne Smeck of Hope Lutheran Church via WebEx to pray with us. Pastor, welcome to council.
Thank you very much. Let us pray. Holy God, we bless you for the gift of this day, for all we have attempted, all we have accomplished, and everything in between. I thank you for these elected leaders and those who assist them. Help them set aside everything that may distract them so they can be fully present, bringing their best selves and skills to the work before them. Send each council member wisdom and discernment, that decisions will benefit people in each neighborhood. Remember homeowners and those who rent, young people, older people, and all in between, those with resources and those who lack what they need, and people of such blessed diversity. Ethnic, racial, and cultural, which is one of our city's strengths. Guide these leaders that their decisions may bring well-being to those who need it most. And I name the people of Driving Park, where I'm praying right now, and ask that they'll remember them and other communities that may sometimes be forgotten. And Lord, we remember communities experiencing strife, especially in Ukraine. We join faithful and compassionate people of every religion in praying for peace. Make the way, protect the vulnerable, and bring healing. Your mercy is great, and so we pray with thankful hearts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden.
May I have a motion now to accept the minutes as presented? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden.
And we have just a small housekeeping matter. Can I get a motion to amend the minutes previously adopted from the December 13th, 2021 meeting? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden.
Now, may I have a motion to accept the minutes from the December 13th, 2021 meeting as amended? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. This week's communications received by the city clerk's offices are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not this time.
Before moving into the resolutions this evening, I'd like to provide Columbus Public Health Commissioner Myshika Roberts with the opportunity to say a few words. We all know that now that the CDC has changed its guidelines on Friday, and as these guidelines are changing, I'm really proud of this council and the city's leadership that throughout this pandemic, we have followed the science, and we thank those who have been on the front line for us throughout this pandemic. And I think I can speak for this council, grateful that because of the hard work of so many, we can start to transition to the next phase of how we live and thrive with the coronavirus still in our community. With that, I want to turn it over first to the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, who will then introduce Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight, we're going to provide an opportunity for our Health Commissioner, Dr. Myshika Roberts, to provide an update. Thank you for setting the tone, Council President Harden, as it appears as though the new guidelines provided by the CDC reflect the view that we are entering a potentially less dangerous phase of this pandemic. Dr. Roberts, can you provide us with an update?
Sure. Good evening, and thank you, President Harden and Chair Favor, for this opportunity. As you both mentioned, on Friday, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention provided new guidance of how you should look at risk factors for COVID-19 in your community. Previously, we were focused on community transmission, and we had 4 different levels that were color-coded, predominantly based on case rate and positivity rate. As all of you know, or many of you know, positivity rate is based on testing. And so much of our testing now in our community is done at home that is not reportable. And with this new variant that we've seen with Omicron and the various waves we've seen, whether it be Omicron or Delta, what we've observed nationally is this virus has mutated, and the symptoms that most people are getting, particularly those who are vaccinated, are mild. And so we are moving to a new chapter of this pandemic. By no means is the pandemic over, but we're moving to a new phase or a new chapter. And the CDC felt that it was necessary to adjust and adapt the data or the metrics that we use to really identify high-risk areas. And so we moved away from community transmission to community levels. And now, instead of being focused on positivity rate and case rates, we're also looking at the burden on the healthcare system. So the burden that the virus is having, particularly on our hospitals. So now CDC is looking at 3 different metrics. The first one being case rate per 100,000, which is a metric we've been looking at for some time. The second one being the number of newly diagnosed COVID-19 cases coming into the hospital, or the number of people hospitalized with COVID-19. And then the third number they're looking at is the number of the number of beds that COVID-19 patients are taking up in the hospital, and what other bed availability looks like in our healthcare system. And so really we're focused on the burden of this virus on our healthcare system. And based on their new criteria of community levels of COVID-19, there are 3 different levels: low, medium, and high. And at the high level is when the CDC recommends there be universal masking indoors. Fortunately for Franklin County, we came in at the medium level, which the medium and low level, the CDC does not recommend universal masking. So based on the new metrics and the new guidance, I issued recommendations to you, Columbus City Council, to Mayor Ginther, as well as the City Council of Worthington, that if Columbus maintains this medium level for another week, CDC will update their data at the end of every week. Then I believe it is safe for us to lift our indoor mask order here in the city of Columbus. Based on that, we would have close to 10 days worth of data showing that we were able to maintain that level. And if you recall back in September when you put the mask order in place, I had recommended that we be at moderate disease transmission, which was the old CDC scale, for 4 consecutive weeks, which was 2 incubation periods. The virus, as I said earlier, has changed, and now, for the most part, the incubation period is much shorter. It's more like 2 to 5 days after exposure that someone gets ill. So based on that shorter incubation period that we've observed, I feel comfortable going 10 days because that would be 2 incubation periods with the new metrics having us at medium community level for COVID-19. And then I think it would be safe to lift the mask order in Columbus. Now, with that being said, I want to remind everyone that we are in a very different position today than we were in September when this council put the mask order in place. We're now able to vaccinate everyone 5 and up, and everyone is eligible for boosters who have received their 2 doses and are within the window to receive their booster. In addition to that, we have testing readily available at your healthcare provider as well as at home. You can buy them easily over the counter. And we have treatment available for those who do get COVID-19 and need to be treated. We have treatment that can be done as an outpatient, as well as treatment that can be done if you're hospitalized. So we have a lot of tools in the toolbox that we didn't have in September and that we didn't have 2 years ago when this started. So we've made a lot of improvement. And we can't lose sight of the fact that masks do work. And so there may be times in the future, and I hope it won't be until the fall or the winter, where we might have to ask our residents to wear their mask again. But now is not the time for that. And we should be thankful for that. And we should take advantage of the fact that we have these other tools and we should rely on those tools at this point in time. I also want to encourage people who have underlying health conditions or care for someone or live with someone with underlying health conditions, that it is still okay if you choose to wear a mask when out in public. And I also want to remind business owners that you can make your own decisions whether you want your staff or your patrons to wear masks when they come into your establishment. That decision will be up to you, but because our healthcare system is not being inundated with cases and following the science from CDC's new guidance, I believe our community is in a better position and the mask order is no longer needed once we've been able to maintain that for 10 consecutive days. I'm happy to answer any questions any of you might have at this point in time.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. It's almost ironic that we're 2 years to the date of the Arnold Classic when we first instituted masks in the city of Columbus. And the Classic will be here this weekend, which brings folks all over the country and all over the world to the city of Columbus. What is your advice on wearing masks this weekend?
Well, assuming that you all are not going to lift the mask order tonight, my recommendation is the mask order still stay in place until March the 7th. And I would strongly encourage individuals, as you're out and about in the city of Columbus over the next 7 days, that you continue to wear your mask. And as our community will have some new visitors from all over the country, as you mentioned, coming in, it's even more important now than ever that we continue to wear our mask and keep each other safe and keep our community safe during this active time in our community. It's still great that we can go about and socialize and enjoy. I think it's wonderful that the Arnold is coming back, but there's things we can all do to make sure that we all stay healthy and safe and that it becomes a safe event.
And does the new guidance provided by the CDC impact our students at Columbus City Schools and even folks who use our public transportation like the COTA bus system?
So the new guidance does not impact public transportation. There's an order in place that CDC has that I think needs to be renewed or will expire on March the 18th. So the new guidance does not impact public transportation. But the new guidance is meant to provide guidance for schools as well. And CDC is clear that the guidance, that community level guidance is the same for school guidance. Now, there are a few caveats that the CDC has in their guidance that we all need to take note of. The one is if you have a large scale event in your community, you should think about maybe encouraging mask use. So that explains the Arnold and why I think it's important that we continue until we have 2 consecutive incubation periods and go until March 7th. And they also take into account vaccination rates. And so, as you have heard, many of our suburban school districts have made decisions to lift their mask mandate. To my knowledge, Columbus City Schools has not made a decision of how they're going to proceed with their mask mandate for their students and staff. I would be supportive of either decision that they make, and I think there's science that can justify either decision they make. I have been in touch with them and am providing them counsel and medical guidance on that decision. However, one of the things that the new CDC guidance does cover is, although it doesn't cover public transportation, it does say that masks are no longer required on school buses and school vans. So any type of school transportation is no longer covered under the larger transportation umbrella. Again, that is a decision that every school district needs to make individually.
And in the future, if Franklin County goes to that high level, under the new classification system, what does that mean for mask wearing in the city of Columbus, and how will your guidance change?
Great question. So according to the CDC, when you're at high level, indoor masking is recommended. And so I would recommend that to you and to others, that we consider a mask advisory at minimum and a mask order if that was the appetite that City Council and others wanted to take. I would suggest that in the future that we consider maybe making the mask order on a limited time, so have an end date, and that might appeal to more of our residents to comply with the order moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Let me open the floor to my colleagues if anyone has any questions or comments they'd like to raise at this time. Well, Dr. Roberts, we greatly appreciate your time this evening, your guidance over the past 2 years. We want to be clear that being at the medium level does still provide the guidance that if you're immunocompromised or that if you have underlying conditions, that you should still consider to wear a mask. Obviously, if you're COVID-19 positive, please continue to implement the practices that we have all incorporated into our lives over the last 2 years. This pandemic is still ongoing, but we are now learning how to live with this virus in our community, which requires us to always continue to do our parts individually and collectively. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Council President.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Favor, and certainly thank you to Dr. Roberts and all the men and women with our health department and all those who've been on the front line for the last 2 years keeping us safe. We will now move to resolutions and announcements from council members, starting with Councilmember Bankston.
Thank you, Council President. I just have one announcement this evening. This past Saturday, my office held its first monthly community hours. So I just wanted to take a chance to thank all the residents that came out and attended. We had a robust discussion, and it's always a great opportunity to engage with our community members. Our next one will take place on Saturday, March 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And same as last time, if you want to attend, please email my legislative assistant, Kevin Jones, at keljones@columbus.gov to RSVP. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
Good evening, Council President. I do have 2 resolutions this evening. Tonight, I present Resolution 0017X2022 to recognize the Columbus Safe Routes to School program and to support the efforts it has made to ensure the safety, health, and equity of students in the city of Columbus. The Safe Routes to School program aims to reduce automobile dependency by promoting safe walking and biking to school for children across the country. The program improves the sense of safety and security within neighborhoods and strengthens ties between families, neighbors, schools, and local organizations in an effort to encourage community building as well as reducing traffic, noise, and air pollution in school zones. With adoption of the first Vision Zero Columbus Action Plan 1 year ago, the Department of Public Safety and our Vision Zero partners have been focused on making the safety making safety the #1 priority of our city transportation system. These projects, coupled with infrastructure safety strategies, will create safer travel for students, their families, and others who walk and bicycle to and from school. I would like to recognize the Department of Public Service, Columbus Public Health, and Columbus City Schools for their work on the school district-wide travel plan, along with many others who are ensuring the safety of our students and their families and bringing our communities together through this effort. I would like to now introduce Columbus School Board President Jennifer Adair, who is here with us virtually this evening to accept this resolution. President Adair.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President Hardin and council members, for this resolution. In February 1st, the school board unanimously passed its own resolution to adopt this very important piece of legislation. Just like what was said, this is really a story about how cross-collaboration from all the way up through the federal, state, to our local agencies really can come together and help our students. And it's not just about safety in terms of being able to walk or bike safely. It really does have a larger community impact on all the things that were just mentioned. And so for us, we know that it helps our students not only travel to school safely, but learn all about infrastructure and the environment and being good stewards in the community. We really want to thank everyone that participated in this, including our Columbus City School staff, the staff from the Columbus Department of Health, and neighborhoods, families, and importantly, the students that lent their voices to ensure that the right projects and infrastructure initiatives were part of this action plan. We're really excited about the future of the plan, and we look forward to continued partnership, ensuring that not only our Columbus City Schools students are safe on their way to and from school, but really all children and all community members that are traveling around our schools. So thank you again for supporting this resolution. And, it's kind of interesting. I'm coming right after Dr. Roberts as well. So I just want to say, you're probably going to find out more tomorrow about what we are going to do with masks. So be on the lookout for that. Just a little news from Columbus City Schools. So again, thank you so much for supporting this resolution, and we look forward to the continued partnership.
Thank you, President Adair. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? I'd like to move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Perfect. I just want to comment for just a second. So first of all, thank you, President Adair. As a kid who walked home to and from school every day, I deeply appreciate a mother who never, ever learned how to drive and always walked everywhere. Safety to and from school and in our communities is vitally important. But as Black History Month comes to a close and we kick off the beginning of Women's History Month, it is with intention that we will have 3 strong Black women leaders who make a tremendous impact on our community every day, speaking at this council meeting this evening. So with that, I'd like to pivot. Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contributions to history, culture, and society, and has been observed annually in the month of March in the United States since 1987. Throughout this month, I joined my colleagues, Councilmember Faver and Councilmember Brown, in honoring the contributions of women throughout history, and especially those currently paving the way for women in our community here in Columbus. Additionally, March also kicks off a series of equal pay days that help educate and elevate the pay gap of women and women of color specifically in comparison to their white male counterparts. This evening, I would like to present Resolution 0035X2022 to recognize March 2022 as Women's History Month in the city of Columbus and to honor Zora's House for their continued efforts and support to women of color. Zora's House was born out of the radical idea that women of color in Columbus need and deserve a multifunctional work, community, and event space created and led by them. Their mission is to provide women of color with the clarity, confidence, and connections they need to amplify their authentic voices, grow and contribute their talents, and powerfully transform their lives, careers, and communities. At the heart of Zora's House is a thriving community of women of color, artists, activists, academics, and entrepreneurs that create inclusive learning spaces for the larger community on relate to the identities and experiences of women of color. We cannot recognize Zora's House without honoring the vision of their CEO and founder, Elsie Johnson, a writer, entrepreneur, and activist who believes women of color can save the world and is teaching us all how to help. Today, I would like to welcome Elsie Johnson to the podium.
All right, I'm short, so let me pull that down a little bit. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Elsie Johnson. I'm the founder and CEO of Zora's House. And for those of you who aren't familiar, even after that lovely introduction, the work that we do at Zora's House is really catalyzing and supporting the leadership, creativity, entrepreneurship, scholarship, and activism of women of color in our community. As a Black woman and the founder of Zora's House, I, of course, have a personal stake in this work. But research also tells us that when women of color, women who exist at the intersection of two marginalized identities, when women of color thrive, entire communities can thrive. In fact, the Federal Reserve estimates that if racial and gender gaps were closed, the GDP of Ohio between 2005 and 2019 would have increased by $67 billion. This is particularly important in Franklin County, where women of color are the fastest growing population and also the hardest hit and the slowest to recover from the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So as we end off on Black History Month and kick off Women's History Month, I am honored and humbled by this resolution and by City Council's recognition that when we invest in women, particularly women of color, we are investing in a more just and equitable community for all of us. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Yes, Councilmember Faber.
Well, I just wanted to say to Elsie, she moved so quickly.
There she's coming back.
I just want to extend my appreciation to Zora's House and to you specifically for the leadership and the foresight to create an organization that is committed to doing this work. You provide a safe haven. You provide an opportunity for women to be in conversation with each other on a high level basis to even social level basis. You provide an opportunity for small businesses and women-led organizations to thrive. And so your work is very much needed in the city of Columbus. And we will continue to do everything that we can to support the work of organizations like yours and others throughout our community. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
I will add, Elsie, Ms. Johnson, thank you so much. There is a motto for leadership, probably coined by someone in particular, but it's a truism that we should carry as we climb. And I think that really embodies Zora's House. Zora's House embodies it. And you do as a leader, that's how you work. And I've seen the work you've done to touch the lives of countless women as you pursue success, to always have their success front of mind. And in somewhere, along the way, knowing how to take care of yourself too. I hope that's always, always up there, because the model of caring for others as you pursue your success can be hard, and we all see you do it every day. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So if those are all the comments, I move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favorite, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
And before I close today, I also want to acknowledge that this week also marks International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day a few days early. Especially we are filled with incredibly strong advocates that are women today. And I can think about 65 million other reasons that Elsie just gave us of why we should continue to support women today and every day. So with that, gracias. That is all for me today.
Thank you, Councilmember. President Pro Tem.
Nothing for me today. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilmember Dorans.
Thank you, Council President. And just one quick announcement. Wanted to remind everyone that the zoning committee will be holding a public hearing on council zoning procedures and priorities this Wednesday in council chambers at 5:30. People are also able to join that hearing virtually as well. We'll hear presentations from representatives of the Department of Building and Zoning Services, the City Attorney's Office, the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at The Ohio State University, the Department of Economic Development, and City Council. Land use policy fundamentally shapes the future of our city. I think, Council President, you've mentioned this a number of times from this dais, and certainly how council approaches this important task has a huge impact on our community. Thus, I believe it's more important than ever for this body to be transparent with our friends and neighbors about our policies and priorities related to rezonings and variance requests. Thus, I want to encourage anyone interested in zoning procedures and policies in their city to attend that hearing and learn more and provide public comment if you're interested. So that will be this Wednesday at 5:30 here in council chambers. And again, folks are able to join virtually for that hearing as well. That's all I have. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Just a further plug for council members hearing that lots of folks show up at a hearing when there's a zoning conversation around your house. This is a broader conversation, and we need your input as we work to build a community that is growing. And so I appreciate the leadership of Chair Dorans and really encourage folks who are concerned, are interested about the great opportunities that growth brings our city, and want to be a part of helping council formulate our policies and then continue to support good growth for all of our communities. So thank you. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you. Over the last month, my colleagues and I have shared some stories of remarkable individuals in our community and in history. Tonight, as we close out Black History Month, I'd like to honor and thank every Black healthcare worker in the past and present for breaking boundaries and weaving your paths into places of influences in the hopes of creating a diverse and equitable healthcare system. This year's theme for Black History Month was around wellness and healthcare. And just a week and a half ago, this council honored and recognized Black history in the city of Columbus, acknowledging folks who are connected to our healthcare systems, like Dr. Roberts was one of our award recipients. Representation in medicine absolutely matters. And I would encourage all of our residents to go back and watch the replay of the Black History Month program so that you can get an idea of the commitment of our leaders in medicine that live right here amongst us. And I want to take this opportunity once again to thank each and every one of you. And while it may be the end of Black History Month, I challenge you all to amplify these stories and challenge ourselves to focus on our own health and wellness, whatever that may look like. As Councilmember Barosa de Padilla indicated, tomorrow does mark the start of Women's History Month, and since 1987, Women's History Month has been celebrated to recognize women's contribution to history, culture, and society. And that's why I am incredibly proud to recognize the Columbus Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated during tomorrow's Empowering Women to Serve ceremony at City Hall, where we will present a resolution and illuminate the building in honor of the chapter's service to women and girls all over the city of Columbus and, quite frankly, all over the world. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite the Moms Demand Action Group to the podium. Tonight, we have Resolution 0033X-2022 to express opposition to state legislation which removes the requirements for training and a permit to legally carry a concealed firearm. On March 14th, February 14th, I shared about Senate Bill 215, which, if signed by the governor, would remove the licensing requirement for a person carrying a concealed handgun, allowing people to carry permit-less concealed firearms without training or background checks. In 2021, more Ohioans died from gun violence than almost any year on record, and studies have shown that states have looser carry concealed criteria have a higher rate of gun deaths than states with common sense concealed carry rules. Additionally, we know gun violence has a disproportionate impact on communities of color, with Black Americans experiencing more than 10 times the gun violence compared to white Americans. Our state and city is experiencing a gun violence crisis, and what we need is common sense gun policies to reduce gun violence in our community. This legislation will unravel common sense gun safety protections. That is why my colleagues and I are expressing opposition to this legislation and urge Governor Mike DeWine and our colleagues at the State House to work on legislation that will reduce gun violence in the city of Columbus. With that, I'd like to welcome Olivia and Nina, students at Grandview Heights High School with Ohio Moms Demand Action, to provide testimony. Ladies, the podium is yours.
Thank you, council members, for allowing us to speak. As seniors at Grandview Heights High School, we have grown up in an era of school shootings. Sandy Hook in elementary school, Parkland in 8th grade, and countless more in recent years. It's bad enough that Ohio already allows teachers to be armed, and by doing away with the training mandate, in our eyes, would do nothing but add to the danger and fear that already follows students in our schools. We want to make our peers feel comfortable as they learn and grow. Bringing more guns into the classroom is not going to accomplish this.
Moving further from this, we need to instill safety not only in our schools, but also our communities and the state of Ohio as a whole. We've seen how weakening permitting systems has increased gun violence in the past, and so we thank you all for passing a resolution opposing Senate Bill 215 along with House Bill 99. We urge you to continue the fight for common sense gun legislation and for our generation and those who will come after us. Thank you so much, especially to Councilmember Favor for allowing us to speak.
Absolutely, ladies. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, you're young folks, and you're here advocating on behalf of all Ohioans and Columbus residents, urging our representatives at the State House to do what makes sense. And so we want to continue to uplift this legislation that is making its way through the General Assembly, so that residents that have concerns can call their representatives and make their concerns be known to the representative. Are there any comments or questions by my colleagues for the group? Council President.
Councilmember, I just want to thank Moms Demand Action for your advocacy at the State House. I recently was with Mayor Ginther and with Senator Craig and Representative Dontavius Geralds, and they say that you are a welcome and a rowdy sight and voice to hear at the State House. And so to Councilmember Favor's point, many of us don't see the advocacy. We are at home, but there are a committed group of moms, there are a committed group of students that are going to the State House and advocating every day. And I'm sure as you're there at the State House, you see them doing silly things like trying to ban things like books while allowing dangerous guns to be in the hands of folks who don't need them in our communities. And so on behalf of all of us, I say thank you for your advocacy. And this is just our little part to support your advocacy at the State House. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to all the other moms who are present today and folks who are just allies, thank you for the work that you do as well in this space. With that, I'd move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my for announcements today.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you, Council President Harden. I have one resolution I'd like to introduce from the floor this evening. I would also like to invite Leo Almeida to the podium as I begin reading the resolution. As everyone is aware, our brothers, sisters, and friends of the Ukraine are experiencing an unprovoked, uncalled for, reckless, and inhumane invasion of their country by Russian leadership. My heart, and I'm sure the hearts of many others, have been heavy for days. As the reports continue to roll in, we hear about the casualties and destructions taking place in Ukraine Innocent families are being killed, ripped apart, displaced due to the senseless actions of this Russian regime, and it frustrates and angers me beyond belief. Our world has seen enough destruction, separation of families, and unnecessary loss of life. I encourage cities across the nation to open their doors to the people of Ukraine. I also encourage our local community to prepare ourselves to welcome our Ukrainian brothers, sisters, and friends. We are so fortunate to have 3 local resettlement service agencies here, Us Together, Community Refugee and Immigration Services, also known as CRIS, Ethiopian Tawahedo Social Services, ETSS. And if you'd like to assist these great organizations in any way, I ask that you contact them directly. They will continue to need the support of our community. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ordinance 37X 2022 to acknowledge and welcome the people of Ukraine to the City of Columbus and declare support for Ukrainian sovereignty and their right to self-determination. The City of Columbus represents and welcomes all residents, regardless of national origin, and is committed to making Columbus a city that provides opportunity for all. The City of Columbus is home to an increasingly diverse population, including refugees and immigrants from across the world, who add to the economic strength and cultural richness of the community. The people of Ukraine and the City of Columbus have a shared love of freedom, independence, self-determination, and self-governance. Ukraine has enjoyed self-governance since its separation from the Soviet Union in August of 1991 and ratified its most recent constitution in June of 1996. As the situation develops in Kyiv, the people of Ukraine and the tens of thousands of Ohioans of Ukrainian descent are in our thoughts and prayers. We urge the federal government to create safe passage to the United States for those who have been approved for refugee status. For all the cases currently in the pipeline, we implore the federal government to expedite and process and commit to continue resettling Ukrainian refugees throughout this crisis. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus to acknowledge and welcome the people of Ukraine to the City of Columbus and declare support for Ukrainian sovereignty and their right to self-determination. Be it further resolved that the City of Columbus stands in solidarity with the people of Ukraine in their fight against Russian oppression, aggression, and annexation. This evening, we're fortunate to have Nadia Kazvan, co-founder of Us Together, who will be joining us virtually, and also Leo Almeida, who serves as board chair of CRIS, who is here in person. Both would like to offer a few words on this legislation, so I'll start turn the virtual dais over to Nadia, and then we'll end up with Leo. Thank you. Nadia, the floor is yours. Here we go. Leo, you want to go ahead and take the floor?
Yeah,
sure.
I can get started. Council members, thank you for allowing me to speak to this resolution in support of Ukraine and welcoming the people of Ukraine to the City of Columbus. As the council member said, I'm Leo Almeida, and I have the honor of serving as the president of Community Refugee and Immigration Services, also known as CRIS. The mission of our organization is to help refugees and immigrants reach safety and stability, sustain self-sufficiency, and achieve successful integration into the Central Ohio community. To achieve this mission, CRIS offers many services such as employment, English learning opportunities, legal services, early childhood and parenting, mentorship, older adult needs, interpretation, and outreach to limited English proficient populations. The cornerstone of our organization is our resettlement program. We are devoted to helping refugees of all nationalities and backgrounds who are looking to call Columbus home. Refugee resettlement is not an easy process, but it is made easier by having the support of Columbus City Council and the Columbus community. We appreciate the leadership that this council has provided to ensure that Columbus remains a welcoming city to refugees and immigrants. While the turmoil continues to unfold in Ukraine and the people of Ukraine fight for their lives and their country, we must be prepared to welcome those individuals who will need to find refuge in Columbus. As we did during the recent crisis in Afghanistan, we are prepared to welcome refugees from Ukraine. It's important to note that we don't know when refugees from Ukraine will be arriving. We certainly encourage the federal government to welcome refugees from Ukraine, but we know it is a complicated and long process. The best thing we can do right now is to continue to provide support for resettlement programs like Chris. We are always focused on the sustainable growth of our resettlement program because we want to be prepared for any refugee from any part of the world that can come to Columbus. Having a sustainable resettlement program will allow us to continue to reunite families and provide a safe new home for refugees in Columbus for many years to come. We appreciate your continued support and leadership and commend you for bringing forward this resolution.
Thank you, Leah. We certainly appreciate the work that Chris does in our community. I believe we have Nadia. Okay, Nadia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I experienced some technical difficulties, but President Harding and council members and Councilmember Remy, thank you so much for this resolution. Thank you for welcoming refugees into our city. I deeply appreciate support for our Ukrainian community and for people of Ukraine. I came to the United States as a refugee from Ukraine 28 years ago. And all these years, I've been working, helping refugees from all over the world with their first steps in this country, overcoming barriers, becoming self-sufficient, and contributing members of this society. I have done it in many roles, and for the last 19 years as a co-founder and co-director of Us Together. Among many refugees from all over the world, Us Together have also resettled hundreds of refugees from Ukraine who came here because they've been persecuted for their religious beliefs. We still have hundreds of these family cases in a pipeline waiting for being processed for the status. We have more than 70 people whose refugee status was approved, and the only thing they were waiting for, departure documents and travel arrangements. They are stuck now in Ukraine, many hiding in basements, and nobody has any answers for them what to do next. Every single one of these families, all of these families, have families right here in Columbus, and they've been separated from their loved ones for years. Mothers and fathers waiting for their children, children separated from their parents, siblings. With already 27 million refugees and millions more displaced around the world, we now have more than 500,000 people who were able to cross borders and escape the war in just the last few days. But what is next for them? Never, ever have I thought to see refugees from Ukraine in refugee camps. And this is what we're starting to see now. It is devastating and heartbreaking for me on a personal level. And my thoughts are with all the people of Ukraine. For our federal government, I'm urging our federal government to create self-passage for people who were approved for status, expedite cases in the processing, and continue to accept refugees as a result of this humanitarian crisis.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for your testimony this evening. We certainly, our hearts are with you and your family and all of those in Ukraine that are suffering. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Council President Pro Tem Brown.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Ms. Cosman, I just want to say thank you for your leadership at Us Together. And I know that it has been a really hard couple years to be doing the work that you do. You have been tried, you have been tested. Folks at the federal level have tried to literally write you out of work, right? Out of a job. Same to Chris. So I know it's been a really hard couple of years. And I just want to say an extra thank you today because things, I'm sure, feel harder than ever. We are keeping your family deep in our thoughts and very grateful that you are here in Columbus. doing your work.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
I just want to echo Councilman Brown's. I tried very hard not to get emotional myself. As a daughter of refugees, it is when you lose everything that you know and you are seeking safety for your family. The uncertainty of that, which families in our own communities face at a certain level every day. But when you have to leave, again, everything you know, and there's language barriers, and you're not sure of what is on the other side, it is an incredible feat. And I think that this country was founded as a beacon of hope, as a freedom, as a symbol of freedom and justice and democracy. And so even if we may not always agree, to be the daughter of a city that throws up a beacon and a light to say you are welcome here, and this is a place for you, and to embrace those folks into our community means everything, no matter where they're coming from. And so I want to thank Chris and the organizations, Us Together, Nadia. Your family is in our thoughts and our prayers, and thank you for the work that you do, that you will continue to do. And I'm so proud to be part of this council and part of this city that will continue to welcome our arms and open our arms to welcome more people into our city, because that makes us greater, and that is our strength will always be in our people. So thank you.
Appreciate you, Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Council President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember, for bringing this resolution. Certainly, this is a united front from this council and truthfully from this city. What Councilmember Barosa de Padilla just explained is truly the heart of who we are as a community, that we look out, that we open the doors. This council did that in 2015 with Syrian refugees and put a stake in the ground and said, we want those folks here because of the fear, because of the anxiety that those families had. We did it again in 2020 with Afghanistan refugees that were coming, and we are certainly doing that tonight for our Ukrainian brothers and sisters to know that Columbus is a safe space, is a safe place for them. To that end, next week we will bring before council a $100,000 ordinance for organizations like Us Together and Chris that are going to provide those services for refugees to resettle here in Columbus. The work that President Pro Tem just explained has been thwarted at every angle by the federal government in the past, and yet this council has stood with these organizations that have stayed out there and stayed supporting our residents and our new residents in Columbus. So I look forward to working with my colleagues as we work on that ordinance this week, and certainly we'll reach out to the organizations that we know are doing that work so that we are prepared here in Columbus to welcome our neighbors. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. If there are no further questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. That is all I have this evening.
Are there any comments by elected officials that may be joining us virtually? Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from tonight's agenda? May we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of third-day legislation? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record ordinances on 30-day legislation?
Economic Development Committee, ordinances 410, 411, 412, 413, 414, 475, 476-2022. Technology Committee, ordinances 468, 504, 505, and 527-2022.
Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 400, 471, 508-2022. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinance 151-2022. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 404, 407, 442, 445, 456, 483, 495, 498, 506, and 523-2022. Housing Committee, ordinance 557-2022. Public Safety Committee, ordinance 396-2022. Zoning Committee, ordinances 538, 539, 559, 584, 585, 589, 590, 591, 596, 598-2022, and 1198-2021.
We have one. No. Thank you, Jacob. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolutions of expression 36X and 34X-2022. Economic Development Committee, ordinances 408, 409, 466, 552, 566-2022. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 330, 331, 356, 380, 383, 384, 387, 403, 421, 423, 429, 438, 439, 443, and 455-2022. Finance Committee, ordinances 197, 415, 453, 472, 526, 532-2022. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 99, 165, 166, 398, 402-2022. Education Committee, ordinance 428-2022. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 211, 335, 355, 546, 554-2022. Housing Committee, ordinances 316, 333, 418, 447, 452, 459, 460, 461, 462, 463, 537, 549, 550, and 582-2022. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinances 393, 496, 499, 524, and 541-2022. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 382, 451, and 551-2022. Public Safety Committee, ordinances 329 and 401-2022. Environment Committee, ordinances 422, 440, 494-2022. Administration Committee, ordinances 517, 518, 519-2022. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0019, 20, 23, and 24-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It looks like we have one person speaking on the consent portion of the agenda. Mr. Nate Wilkins is speaking on ordinance 0316 in the housing portion of our agenda. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council.
And again, let me send my apology to you. Again, to all of you, through the land bank. There's three reasons 1612 Arlington Avenue, Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins. I'm asking all of you to table 03116 2022. I will give you 5 reasons why. Several properties been holding to the land bank of 852 Leona Avenue, 882 Leona Avenue, and the rest of them on Leona Avenue. I grew up in that community in Milo Grogan and watched certain properties that came down. One of them was 882. The house was built in 1800s. Mind you, again, we have vacant property. That community just built it, I think, about 40, 50 new homes in the area. And here today, we still got vacant land on Fifth Avenue in Peters. Mind you, vacant lots here. But I don't understand Why we going backwards instead of moving forward? Here we are. We got vacant property right here. Commercial property right here that's been idolized and vacant for several years. I grew up in that community, went to higher ground with my mother, and here what surprises me, the land bank takes these properties, hold on to them. Why they can't get them now, why they sit empty and are vacant? I don't understand that. It hurts me to break my heart to watch historical homes. 882, Leona was a 4-bedroom house, 1 attached garage. I don't understand why that home got to be torn down, why that home cannot be fixed, why that home got burnt, why we can't put young folks back to work and restore some of these communities that's been ravaged and torn apart. In my community, I watched 10, 20 vacant structural homes was torn down. And why is that block here? I wonder why I come here every day, cry my heart out to watch that something I see in the documents here. I'm asking you to table 882 and 850 Leona Avenue. And here we got a vacant property on Leona Avenue. Haven't been touched in 30-something years. I'm 47 years old. And I know that 905 Leona Avenue has sit vacant for decades and time after time again. Won't we start looking at these property owners and start doing something with them and start tagging vacant land and start building up Milo Grogan where it used to be, where there's a lot of older people that live there and take pride in their homes. And here I live with my mother for 26 years in that community. And here I'm seeing something that it just breaks my heart. And here we got to look back instead of going forward and leaving empty lots alone. And here, that's all I want to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Chair Favor.
Mr. Wilkins, I'm sorry, I just have a question for you. This ordinance is dealing with these properties that have been vacant in the possession of the city's land bank to go to transfer to a developer who is going to rehab these properties. And so you want us to table that?
I just need some dialogue and what would these properties will be used for. I know one of them was a historical home and that sits a vacant land through the land bank, but I don't have the pictures of those photographs. So if you need to pass it, but I'm asking for 2 properties to be held back for a minute till I pull up those properties, see what they look like.
I'm happy to have the department circle back around with you,
Yeah.
but they're generally going to be used for folks to live in. They're going to be rehabbed so that they can be owned by actual owners who are going to live in the property.
Also, if I can get the document information, who will take over that lead so I can get contact information.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are there any other questions or concerns, comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve? Clerk, please call the roll by voice, right?
Mr. Bankston,
Yes, with the exception of Ordinance 0330-2022, from which I am abstaining.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla, Ms. Brown, Mr. Dorns, Ms. Faber, Mr. Remy,
Yes.
President Harden.
Yes, ordinance are passed. The first committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Ooh, let's share a little joy during this meeting. This is 0424-2022 to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Shelley and Sands Incorporated for the Roadway, Sullivan Avenue, Hague to I-70 pedestrian crossing, bridge lighting, driveway design project to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,350,573.56 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund for the project and to declare an emergency. So I want to take a moment and just share a little bit more about this project. So the Sullivan Avenue Roadway Rehabilitation Project is part of a $10 million investment aligned with the Envision Hilltop Plan, the City of Columbus Comprehensive Community Plan for a Stronger Hilltop. These projects are also part of Sullivan Bright, a public art and parklet project. The artwork will celebrate the history, community, and spirit of the corridor. This project incorporates public art in spaces that enhance pedestrian safety, mobility, and streetscape beautification along the nearly 2-mile corridor on Sullivan Avenue between I-70 to Hague Avenue. The public art and improvements will take place in 2 phases. The first phase started taking place last June of 2021 with the installation of street murals and sidewalk art by 15 local artists that I believe will be up on your screen in just a second. Hopefully, Mark, maybe it's coming. Today, we are specifically authorizing projects to improve pedestrian crossing, curb extensions. So what you see right here is the street murals that were out on Sullivan Ave. So if you haven't taken a drive down Sullivan, you will see these. These will all eventually be bumped out. But this was engaging local artists as part of this project. And they also did poetry along the sidewalks as well. And so tonight, what we are actually going to approve is a lighting project under the underpass on the walls of the I-70 bridge over Sullivan Avenue that we'll see in the next photo. So that should come up in just a second. So this is what the lights will look like. So it's a really exciting project, part of a larger beautification project along Sullivan Avenue. And these sorts of projects will continue to other parts of the city as well. So I'll pause for just a second and see if there are any comments or questions from my colleagues. Yeah.
I'm just geeked by this. So I was a former chair of public service, and I remember working very hard to get public investment in art in our right of way. And so to see us making this investment and catching up with some of our creative colleagues from around the country, I'm just excited about it. I look forward and hopefully this council can help to get this information out so folks can know where these installations are and go see them in person. But very grateful. Thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is only part of the project. We'll continue to share more. They're going to involve bike parking that are cool sculptures and some of the parklets where it'll actually almost be like parks with like cool seating arrangements and that sort of thing. So we're really excited about the project, and all the love goes to public service who's really leading the way. So with that, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
So our second item is 0489-2022 to authorize the city attorney to file complaints in order to immediately appropriate and accept the remaining fees, simple and lesser real estate necessary to timely complete the arterial street rehabilitation 161 to I-71 to Cleveland Avenue Phase 1 project, to authorize the expenditures of up to $126,033.50 from existing ACDI 001452-10 and $126,033.50 from existing ACDI 001452-20 and to declare an emergency. So this is part of the Cleveland Avenue project that we're doing. I don't have any show and tell items now. I'll come back though, I promise. These improvements will include the addition of pedestrian and bike facilities, new traffic signals, pavement widening and resurfacing, raised medians, and the installation of mini roundabouts. So the city's acquisition of this real estate will help make, improve, or repair certain portions of the public right-of-way of the Northern Planning Area. It will make it safer for people to drive, bike, and walk. Any questions, comments? Great. So seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston,
Abstain.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. Brown? Yes. Mr. Dorans? Yes. Ms. Favor? Yes. Mr. Remy? Yes. President Harden?
Yes. Ordinance is passed.
That's all for my committees this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee, chaired by President Pro Tem. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Finance, we first have Ordinance 0441-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to enter into contracts and a license agreement with Columbus Early Learning Centers to serve as the operator and tenant of the Hilltop Early Learning Center, to authorize the city auditor to establish a Hilltop Early Learning Center Special Revenue Fund, to authorize a transfer of appropriation within the general fund to authorize the expenditure of $3,470,000 and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to enter into a partnership with Columbus Early Learning Centers to serve as operator and tenant of the new Hilltop Early Learning Center located at 45 Clarendon Avenue in the Hilltop neighborhood of Columbus. This center will house 240 new early childhood education slots for children on the west side. And it is the product of a several-year effort by the city to improve access to high-quality, affordable early childhood education on the Hilltop. This was not just an effort of the city, but of multiple neighborhood advocates and partners who engaged in this work and informed the city's outreach. Multiple studies, the city's extensive community outreach beginning in 2018 revealed the need for improved access to services that will be available at the new center. So chiefly childcare, but also other services that support the healthy development of young children, like healthcare and nutrition. Early childhood education itself is an essential piece of giving our kids the fair shot they deserve throughout life. And this investment in the Hilltop is one of the best things we can do to ensure there is equal opportunity for our residents who live on the west side, which was identified as a childcare desert and really in need of these services. As the operator of this new center, CELC will be designing and coordinating services for the anticipated opening on September 1st of this year. And as I said previously, residents were clear with us about their desire to have a space that would take a whole child and really whole family approach in this effort. That's why the space includes a full commercial kitchen, safe places to play inside and outdoors, and also a space dedicated for Nationwide Children's Hospital. The operations agreement with CELC as the master tenant extends from September 1st of this year to August 31st of 23, with an option to renew for up to 2 additional one-year terms. They will be awarded up to $3,120,000 per school year under this contract and will also receive a maximum of $350,000 for a startup contract to get the center up and running during the period between March 15th and then when it opens this year. I want to call out the hard work of the education team here at the City of Columbus, Matt Smido and Sierra Adams, also the Finance and Management Director, Joe Lombardi, and his team. They've all been leading the multi-year effort to bring this project online. So thank you so much to each of you and your teams for this remarkable effort, to Mayor Ginther for initiating this effort and leading it to really completion as of later this year. Or maybe not completion, it's just the beginning. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Next in finance, I have 0467-2022 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to enter into contract for the option to purchase steel and metal products with Benjamin Steel Company, to authorize the expenditure of $1 from General Budget Reservation BRPO 001670 to waive the provisions of competitive bidding of the Columbus City Codes and to declare an emergency. This contract is used citywide to purchase steel angles, steel plates, steel tubes as needed for maintenance and repairs. The term of the proposed option contract would be approximately 2 years, with the option to renew for an additional, and with total estimated annual spending of $40,000. The purchasing office advertised and solicited competitive bids in accordance with the relevant provisions of code. However, the lone bidder, Benjamin Steel Company, did not attach the proposal cost sheet to their bid submission. And since it was received by the purchasing office immediately upon request at bid closing, it is in the best interest of the city to waive the provisions of competitive bidding to award this contract to them. The purchasing office does not believe it would be beneficial to rebid, as there was only one bid received initially, and therefore the department would not expect a different result than this contract we have here before us. The Finance and Management Department is requesting this legislation be considered under an emergency ordinance to avoid interruption in supply. Are there any questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. That is all I have in finance, but I believe there's one more ordinance in finance.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. President Harden, next in Finance Committee for second reading, we have Ordinance 0491-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to enter into a contract with the Greater Columbus Arts Council Incorporated for the purposes of fostering and of sustaining arts and cultural services that enrich the Columbus community, to authorize the expenditure of $5,544,000 from the Hotel Motel Excess Tax Fund in accordance with Section 371.02C of the Columbus City Codes, and to declare an emergency. This is the annual allocation of the hotel motel tax that goes to the Greater Columbus Arts Council. And I know that as we are coming back out of this pandemic, our arts taken a really big hit, as well as our tourism and hotel industry. So to see this funding go to them is very critical. We're excited because the Arts Festival is coming back this year. And so we're really looking forward to the continued work of the Greater Columbus Arts Council to ensure that everyone has access to art in our community, and that we continue to celebrate the work of artists in the city of Columbus. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage by voice.
Is there a second? Second. Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bangston,
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla, Ms. Brown, Mr. Dorans, Ms. Favor, Mr. Remy,
Yes.
President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you, President Harden. I think that's all we have in finance.
All right. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, in the Public Utilities Committee, we have ordinance number 0336-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities renew an existing engineering agreement with Black & Veatch Corporation for the Lower Olentangy Tunnel Professional Construction Management to transfer within an expenditure of up to $4,707,574.39 to the Sanitary Sewer Pay-Go Fund 6116 and to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget. The project is part of the Division of Sewers and Drainage 2015 Blueprint Program. The tunnel will improve water quality in the Olentangy River by substantially reducing wet weather overflows from 7 combined sewer overflow structures, as well as 3 other sewer relief structures. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 0339-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with Elford Inc. for the WQAL renovation project in an amount of up to $21,545,250 to encumber $2,000 for prevailing wage services provided by the Department of Public Service, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of $21,545,250 from the Water Sewer Reserve Fund to the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Fund, to authorize the appropriation of expenditure of $21,545,250 within the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Fund, to authorize the transfer and expenditure of up to $2,000 within the Water General Obligation Voted Bond Fund, to amend Ordinance 1543-2021 in order to increase the maximum dollar amount for this project. Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Fund loan award to not exceed $21,545,250, and to authorize an amendment to the 2021 capital improvement budget for the Division of Water. The Water Quality Assurance Lab was originally constructed in 1984 and has not had any major renovations in the past 25 years. Equipment is aging and replacement parts are difficult to produce. When the lab was originally designed, computer workstations were not even in use. The lab performs water quality monitoring and treatment research to ensure Columbus drinking water meets or is better than federally mandated Safe Drinking Water Act standards. Safe compliant water quality are necessary for a healthy community and continued economic growth in Columbus. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 0368-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into construction contract with Shelley and Sands, Inc. for the South Wayland Ave Area Water Line Improvement Project, an amount of up to $3,549,316.10 to encumber $2,000 for prevailing wage service provided by the Department of Public Service, to authorize the appropriation transfer of $3,549,316.10 from the Water Systems Reserve Fund to the Water Supply Revolving Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation of expenditure of $3,594,316.10 within the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Fund, to authorize expenditure of up to $2,000 within the Water General Obligation Voted Bond Fund, to amend Ordinance 1543-2021 in order to increase the maximum dollar amount of this project's Water Supply Revolving Loan Fund account funding loan award to not exceed $3,594,316.10 from the Division of Water, and to authorize amendment to the 2021 capital improvement budget. The goal of this project is to replace or rehabilitate the existing water lines that have a high break frequency, which will improve water main service, decrease burden on water maintenance operations, and reduce water loss in the Mideast planning area. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 0377-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase the contract for the purchase of wholesale electric power ancillary services with American Municipal Power, Inc. for the Division of Power, and to authorize expenditure of $57,185,000 from the Electricity Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. The funds authorized by this ordinance will help cover the costs of power supply and additional ancillary services provided by AMP Inc., such as diesel generator maintenance, representation on federal power issues, staff training, and customer development services for 2022. This ordinance is being submitted as emergency in order to allow purchase of power needed to keep the Division of Power running safely, efficiently, and effectively to provide power to citizens of Columbus that receive their power from the city-owned utility. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Finally, in the Public Utilities Committee, we have ordinance 0450-2022 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to enter into 3 contracts with the option to purchase distribution, wire, and cable, and West Coast Distribution, Inc. for the American Wire Group and Consolidated Electrical Distributors, Inc. to authorize the expenditure of $3 from the General Budget Reservation BRP 01670 to waive the provisions of competitive bidding to enter into a contract with Wesco and declare an emergency. The Division of Power is the sole user of distribution wire and cable used throughout the electrical distribution system. Estimated annual expenditure is $250,000. The Finance Management Department respectfully requests this legislation be considered an emergency ordinance to ensure no lapse occurs in the ability to procure these items. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in the Public Utilities Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Housing Committee, chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in the Housing Committee, we have Ordinance 3072-2022 to authorize the Director of the Development Department to enter into contract with the Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus and Franklin County to facilitate the production of affordable housing and enhance home ownership opportunities in Columbus, to authorize the expenditure of 0.43%, presently estimated at $1,464,000 of the combined rates of 5.1% of the hotel motel excise tax, and to declare an emergency. The Affordable Housing Trust combines public and private funding through a variety of sources to support the development of housing within the city. This annual contribution of the hotel motel tax receipts will help the Housing Trust continue to focus on addressing our city's housing crisis and support low-income residents. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 0399-2022 to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget to authorize the city auditor to appropriate and transfer funds from the special income tax to the Affordable Housing Bond Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $7 million from the Affordable Housing Bond Fund, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Topiary Park Crossing Limited for the development of Topiary Park Crossing Housing Project, to allow for reimbursement costs incurred before the purchase order was approved by the city, to advance the remaining funds on the contract after payment of the costs incurred prior to the approval of the purchase order, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with the Topiary Park Crossing Limited. Columbus Downtown Development Corporation is a private nonprofit development corporation with a mission to lead city-changing projects in the heart of Ohio's capital city. The new Topiary Park Crossing site is being developed by the CDDC to provide affordable housing units in downtown Columbus. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. That is all I have in my committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing no further business come before council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
The council is adjourned. We will convene in 5 minutes, or 5 minutes for zoning. Thank you. Come again? Reminder that you have 3 minutes. you'd state your name and if you. Talking about GFI with us. We're excited to have information. You can email my office, sgharden@columbus.com. Thank you for coming. And our last speaker to come in for council is Damon Blanchard via WebEx. Just a reminder that you have. Yep. At all. seriously for your continued advocacy. I know that you are working closely with Chair Favor's office as she continues to push for her Housing for All legislation packages. He's here. I'm going to gavel regular meeting number 10 to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Now, may I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorrance chairs that committee. All members serves on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin the zoning agenda tonight, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertaining to speaking before council on zoning and variances. This may be new for some. I want to reiterate that we're holding a public hearing back in council chambers this Wednesday, March 2nd at 5:30. Our zoning committee protocols will be one of the main topics of the hearing, but I want to speak about some of these changes here now. Moving forward, I will be swearing in city staff at the beginning of the meeting. We'll only hear staff presentations for ordinances that have disapproval from a recommending body, or when we have public speakers that have signed up to speak against the ordinance. Ordinances that have approval from city staff, the Development Commission, the Area Commission, or Civic Association will not need a staff presentation unless a public speaker again has signed up to speak against the ordinance. The area commissions or proper civic associations and applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker slip. All speakers on the council variance, including area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give their testimony. We did not receive any speaker slips or written correspondence for tonight's meeting. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the pains of penalties of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Please let the record show that Kelsey Preby from the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Dan Blechschmidt from the Department of Public Service has been sworn in. First tonight, we have variance 0478-2022 to grant a variance in provisions of section 3332.035, R3 Residential District, 3312.29 Parking Space, 3332.05 Area District Lot Width Requirements, 333213 R3 Area District Requirements, 3332.25B Maximum Side Yard Required, and 3332.26 EF minimum side yard permitted of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1440 Madison Ave to permit a 2-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R3 residential district. The applicant is 1440 Madison Avenue LLC, care of Dave Perry. The proposed unit is a 2-unit dwelling. The city department's recommendation is approval. The near east side recommendation is approval 902. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Next, I move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have rezoning 0510-2022 to amend ordinance number 1531-87 passed July 20th, 1987, and ordinance number 2724-2003 passed January 12th, 2004, for property located at 3730 West Dublin Granville Road by amending Section 1 of Ordinance Number 1531-87 to include the legal description for this specific property and by repealing Section 1 of Ordinance Number 2724-2003 and replacing it with new Section 3, thereby modifying the CPD setback along State Route 161. This legislation modifies the CPD district to adjust the required parking and building setbacks along State Route 161 from 30 feet to 15 feet to accommodate the right-of-way dedication area for shared use path along the frontage of two proposed eating and drinking establishments located at 3730 West Dublin Granville Road. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Far Northwest Coalition recommendation is approval. Do I have my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll. There's an amendment on this. Amendment to emergency.
First I move to amend to emergency.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amend it.
Now move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have variance 0511-2022 to grant a variance from provisions of 3332.035 R3 Residential District 3312.27 parking setback, 3312.49 minimum number of parking spaces required, and 3321.05 B1 vision clearance of the Columbus City Codes, the property located at 106 South Wheatland Avenue to permit general office and educational uses with reduced development standards in the R3 Residential District. The applicant is Shelley Casto, Highland Youth Garden, care of Ryan Conklin, attorney. The proposed use is general office and educational uses. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Greater Hilltops Area Commission's recommendation is approval 13-0. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
I next move to amend to emergency.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amend it.
And finally, I move for passage as amended.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have rezoning 1693-2021 to rezone 1104 Cleveland Avenue, being 1.29 acres located on the east side of Cleveland Avenue, 100 plus feet of the East Fifth Avenue from C4 Commercial District and Manufacturing District to CPD Commercial Planning District to Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is Thornton's LLC, care of Michael Shannon, attorney. The proposed use is a fuel sales and convenience store. The City's Department's recommendation is disapproval. The Milo Grogan Area Commission recommendation is approval, 8-1. At this time, we'll have a staff presentation due to the disapproval by City Department. Kelsey?
The site consists of 5 parcels developed with an office building in the C4 commercial and M manufacturing districts and is subject to the Milo Grogan urban commercial overlay. The requested CPD Commercial Plan Development District will permit redevelopment of the site with a fuel station and convenience store. The proposal is somewhat consistent with the Milo Grogan Neighborhood Plan's recommendation for office and commercial uses at this location. While staff supports the frontage, landscaping, and street trees as demonstrated on the site plan, staff continues to not support the site plan as presented and requests the convenience store building be moved towards either the Cleveland Avenue or East Fifth Avenue frontage for full support. Additionally, staff notes that in the current layout, the proposed building presents a blank wall to Cleveland Avenue, inconsistent with the UCO requirements and design principles stipulating that blank walls should not be presented towards primary streets. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for disapproval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kelsey. We have, do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments for the department? Say that again. Yes. Any questions from council members for the department? Seeing none, I would like to invite Area Commissioner Tompkins, who is here to speak on this ordinance. Thank you for being here tonight, Commissioner Tompkins. Wanted to allow you the opportunity to speak to the Area Commission's support for this project. And I know you've worked with the applicant on a number of initiatives which you believe has enhanced the value of the development. So the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, I can't do that yet until I say hey to everybody. It's good to see everybody. It's really good. This New Year's, it's good to see everybody. We went around the whole community of Milo Grogan when this was first brought to our attention, just to see how the neighbors would welcome this project. If we had to put it on a scale from 1 to 100%, we had 99.9% that wanted it. The reason that we wanted and we support this Thornton so much is because we have 2 existing gas stations in Milo Grogan that has been nothing but a hazard to the community, to our longtime residents. There's no safety, there's no reassurance for anything. One thing we do know about Thorntons and everything, it will give people to go, someplace to go. They will provide jobs. They will also provide resources such as gas, food, and a place for my wife to be able to go and feel safe. The wall that she is talking about that's facing Cleveland Avenue, we've had several meetings with Thorntons, and they have agreed with the community of Milo to design a mural that's reflecting the Milo Grogan community. We would like to see something that's reflecting unity. So we've been working with them to do that. This is a project that we've been waiting for almost a year and a half now, and we would like to see that done. Before I came, I talked to probably about 30 or 40 residents, and the only reason they're not here is because I told them I could take care of this tonight. So other than that, they would be here. But I don't know how else to put it to you, but we're waiting. We're waiting. And we've been waiting long enough for this to happen. We're excited about this coming to Milo. We're excited about the structure. We're excited about the new build. We're excited about the partnership that Thornton's has said that they would do with the Milo Grogan community, with the new Boys and Girls Club, with the Park of Recreations, helping to create and establish in student grants and things to help them with their college tuitions and a lot of different things. So we're excited about it. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Tompkins.
Yeah,
I appreciate you being here tonight, and it's good to see you in person, actually. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments for Commissioner Tompkins? Right. Thank you. Based upon the strong support from the Area Commission, even without department approval, I'd like to first move to waive second reading for this ordinance.
Second.
And I'd like...
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. And I, at this point, would like to move for passage.
Second.
Clerk. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have in the zoning committee tonight.
All right. Seeing no further business to come before the zoning committee, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Have a good evening, everyone.